What are the planning considerations for improved performance? The four areas covered within this topic are initial planning considerations, planning a training year, planning to avoid overtraining, and elements to be considered. 1. Initial planning considerations. Training programs need to be thoroughly planned if the potential of players and the performance of teams are to be reached. It includes 1. Performance and fitness needs, 2. Climate and season, and 3. Schedule of events. Performance and fitness needs. This includes data gathered from previous season, tests, standard statistical information. This information becomes the basis of planning that will address individual considerations and team considerations. Climate and season. Initial planning needs to consider seasonal variations together with climatic factors. Some of these include heat, wind, rain, and cold humidity. Schedule of events and competition. This is to ensure that players are not underloaded or overloaded in terms of training volume. Intervals of training and rest need to be scheduled so that games players are able to rise to competition. This involves periodization, strategy, and implementation of training methods. 2. Planning a training year. This addresses the competition period to ensure that players are fit and game strategies are in place. This includes modifying sessions and changing the modality of sessions to suit the player's needs. Periodization. Periodization has a number of purposes. 1. Training volume and intensity. 2. Time periods for adaptations. And 3. Overtraining and undertraining. Phases of competition. There are 3 phases that occur. This is 1. Pre-season, which is the preparation phase. 2. In-season, which is the competition phase. And 3. Off-season, which is transition phase. Subphases. This includes macrocycle, which is the large blocks and last 3 to 6 weeks. Microcycle, which is smaller blocks within the microcycle and lasts 7 to 10 days. And then mesocycles, which are periods of 4 to 8 weeks. Peaking. Peaking is the phase of training in which performance is optimized to meet the demands of a race or competition. Tapering is the period immediately before competition when the volume and intensity of training is reduced. Sport-specific subphases. The aim of this area is to target the technique and testing, as well as the fitness components and skill requirements. 3. Planning to avoid overtraining. This includes planning to address the schedule of the session, the intervals required, and the repetitions. Amount and intensity of training. Overtraining is primarily caused by too much training, so adjustment to the amount and intensity of training needs to be made. Physiological considerations. This includes both physiological and psychological factors. The 2 important considerations are lethargic and injury. Psychological considerations. Important psychological considerations in relation to overtraining are motivation or lack of motivation. The result is a loss of increased nervousness, poor concentration span, anger, and emotional sensitivity. 4. Elements to be considered. When designing a training program, a range of elements must be considered. This includes adherence, and the productive and guidelines within the training session. Health and safety considerations. Disregard for health and safety can lead to injury, illness, and poor performance. These include protective equipment and apparel. Overview of the session. The coach tells players what is expected of them. This is done by recording player presence and absence, assessment of current and future and present injuries, discussion of previous performance, and an outline of the specific goals and tactics. Warm up and cool down. The benefits are that it prevents injury and it increases heart rate. This occurs within 3 phases. Phase 1 is general body warm up until the body begins to sweat. Activities include light jogging and skipping. Phase 2 is stretching. This is important in ensuring that the acquired muscle groups are extended beyond the range of motion. Benefits of stretching is that it promotes blood circulation and increases muscle relaxation. Phase 3. These are general body exercises such as push-ups, crunches that involve large muscle groups. An important fact is that exercises should be sport-specific to the game or activity. Skill instruction and practice. This requires prior organisation, effective communication, and clear, concise tactics by the coach. Conditioning. Fitness training is an integral part of every training. Supplementary fitness includes circus and interval training. Evaluation. Evaluation is an appraisal of performances after the training session. It is carried out during and after the cooldown to evaluate and report on the value of the session. It should address performance outcome and behavioral outcomes. In summary, the 4 areas covered within this topic include initial planning considerations, the planning for a training year, planning to avoid overtraining, and elements to be considered. Please complete the questions on the Google document attached before you attend your next class. Thank you.